This is the Louie T Network.
Man, I love some football. Man, I love some football. My favorite week is week 1, cause I'm watching football. First comes the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. We in the lab room.
But me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the program. You are in the lab room. Of course, I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. It's Friday, people. Hey, celebrate. It's Friday. And guess what that means? We got to go back and backtrack and talk about some Thursday night football action, some family business. Steelers, Ravens, we'll get to that in a second as we go back to the Thursday night showcase. However, there are some other things to address in this episode. We'll be talking about the Pick'em Weekly from last week as well as the week coming up in a second. So hang around for that. That'll be a little bit later on in the program. But we have some football to talk about. Thursday night football, family business of the AFC North variety. It's Steelers, it's Ravens, it's big boy football, Thursday night football, CBS NFL Network simulcast. It was great. I actually enjoyed the coverage. So let's talk about this game and how the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to go into Baltimore and get the smackdown laid on them, okay? So I hate starting off the week with a loss, first of all. Let me get that out of the way. Let me get that off of my chest. I hate picking the wrong team on Thursday because it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth and it sets me up for a really bad week on Sunday. I don't really like starting my week off that way, but you know what? It happens. When it's family business, you can get caught up. You can get caught on the wrong end of the stick, and I got caught on the wrong end of the stick. Let's talk about this football game. First possession of the game, you already knew this was going to be trouble. Okay, Big Ben on third down is about to get sacked. The pocket is engulfing him. He's about to get sacked. Somehow he escapes. You know how Ben likes to escape and extend plays? Well, Courtney Upshaw saw him get away, and he wasn't having it. Courtney said, no, not today, partner. You're going down. And when he went down hard. You rarely see Big Ben take a shot like this. This was one of those vicious spears. But the official was standing right there, pulled out the hanky as Ben got dropped. I'm talking about feet off the ground, down to the ground, slamming him hard. You don't get to see Ben take shots that often. Ben is a big boy, 6'5", about 230, 235. He's lost some weight, so he's not in the 40s anymore, but he's still probably about a solid 225, 230, 235 easily. So Ben is a big boy, and he got dropped on that play. Courtney Upshaw, that's a big man. Speaking of big guys, but he used the crown of his helmet. It was a great call by the official. Extends the drive. They were going to have to punt. And so the Steelers take advantage of that. They move the football down the field. They're definitely going to get some points, whether it's a Sean Sweezum field goal or they're able to get in the end zone. They were going to get something on this drive until Justin Brown, one of their young boys that they drafted a season ago that was on the practice squad all last year, fumbles the football. Look, let me tell you this right now. When it's a game like this, when it's family business, when it's serious, and it's in a division like this, and it's Steelers, it's Ravens, it's tough. When it's Seattle, it's San Francisco, when it's those type of ball games, Chicago, Green Bay, these hated rivals, leave the young boys at home. Okay, leave the young boys at home because they don't know what to do in games like this. And Justin Brown, he set the tone for the Steelers in this game. Put the football on the carpet. Leave the young boys at home. They don't know what this kind of football is about. Put it on the ground. And to me, that set the tone for the game because the Steelers didn't get anything there, and all the momentum went to the Ravens after that, and they never, to me, the Steelers never recovered from that fumble. So the Ravens are able to take over, and they moved the ball right down the field after that. They took that momentum of the fumble, moved it down the field, and Cortez Allen had a terrible possession. He had first a face mask penalty against Steve Smith. That was 15 yards. Then he had another pass interference, a PI down around the end zone, down to about the 3-yard line. And that basically was another 21 yards or so on Torrey Smith. And all he had to do was look for the football. It was poorly thrown. It was underthrown. He might have even been able to pick it off if he would have just located the football. He never looked for it. He panicked, and he was just badgering, assaulting. Torrey Smith picks up an easy PI down to the 3-yard line. That's the end of the first quarter. Nothing is your score. Right after we come back to the second quarter, Joe Flacco, play action fake, finds a wide open Owen Daniels in the end zone. That's not going to be the last time you hear his name in this game. 7-0. Ravens up in this game. And so the Ravens already doing something they weren't really able to do a week ago. Let's get in the end zone early in the game. Remember, the Ravens struggled last week against Cincinnati. And so to get in the end zone early in this game, take a lead, something that they were unable to do a week ago, that has to feel really good for this Baltimore Ravens football team. So then the Ravens are on the move once again. 23 yards for Steve Smith on a reception, then 13 for Justin Forsett on the ground leads to a field goal by just incredible. It's now 10-0 Baltimore in this game, and you kind of see where this thing is going, but you're like, hey, Pittsburgh, if you're going to make it close, you probably need to do something not now, like right now. Like, you really need to go and get some points, whether it's a field goal, touchdown, something. Just let us know you're alive in this game. And the Steelers said, we hear you, and we're going to oblige. So the Steelers looking to answer, use Heath Miller. He had 2 big catches on that possession, and then a tough 21-yard run, and then an 18-yard shovel pass by Le'Veon Bell. Let me talk about him for a second because he's been very impressive this year. And they talked about this on the telecast. He looks like a different back. Man, he cut half of his body fat down. He looks like a different guy. I remember the Le'Veon Bell from Michigan State was a fat boy. He was a fat boy, and I gave him the business during the draft wrap-up series last year, and I said, hey, what are you doing, Pittsburgh? You just went and got another Pittsburgh Steeler-type back. Where's the speed? Where's the guy that can change the game? Because Le'Veon Bell is not that guy. Well, I'm wrong. This kid has moves. He's got patience. He's got power. He's even got a little bit of speed as well. And it's all due to him rededicating himself to the game, losing the weight, and getting into shape. The kid looks good, and he played well last night and has played well all season long. And so after those 2 big games from Le'Veon Bell, Steelers get all the way down to the 7-yard line, cannot get in the end zone. And that's something the Ravens have done tremendously well this year, is stopping teams from getting in the end zone. They have not given up a touchdown in the red zone this season. The only touchdown this Ravens team has given up this year was that long 77-yard bomb from the Red Rifle Andy Dalton to young, fresh, and green. Other than that, all these trips to the red zone, all these trips to the 30-yard line have resulted in field goals. Ravens doing an excellent job of keeping teams out of the end zone this season. So it's 10-3 now. At least the Steelers are now on the board and show that they're going to have a little bit of fight in this game. Then we get to the halftime break. It's 10-3. So I'm feeling okay about my pick. I'm a little nervous because, again, Steelers haven't done much, and I'm going to talk about something that the Steelers need to worry about moving forward after this game, after we wrap this thing on up. But we get to the third quarter. Steelers get great field position and begin to march, but an Elvis Dumerville sack, it really ends that drive, and they have to settle for a field goal. It's 10-6. And again, Ravens standing up. When a team starts to threaten them as if they want to get into the end zone, the Ravens stand up tall and they force field goals. Another one for this Steelers team. It's 10-6 now. Who knew that would be the last time the Pittsburgh Steelers would see the scoreboard in this game? Ravens respond with points, aided by 2 personal foul penalties. And I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't agree with either one of these. One of these, okay, I'll give you that one, okay? I'll give you one of these. But the other one I can't get with, okay? The one in the end zone against the safety that you got from the Carolina Panthers, Mike Mitchell, I don't buy that one. I'm not subscribing to that one. That one to me was sketchy at best. The other one, I could see how you could call that one, but I didn't think that was one either. You got to let the guys play, man. You got to let these guys play. I didn't buy either one of them, but nonetheless, they were called. Ravens took advantage of them. Next thing you know, another 2-yard Owen Daniels touchdown on a play-action fake. Beautifully executed by Joe Flacco and his Ravens offense. 17-6. At this point now, the Steelers have their backs against the wall. They need to do something, and they have to do something now. Ravens, and that takes us to the fourth quarter. Ravens once again threatening. Steve Smith really going to work on this Steelers secondary. He had himself a whale of a ball game. Second consecutive game where Steve Smith was the leading receiver in the game for this Ravens football team. But the drive bogs down and they have to settle for a field goal. But it's 20-6. So now this Steelers team is down by 2 touchdowns and it's getting late. It's getting late. Are you going to do anything or what? And so the Steelers said, all right, we got one last gasp in us. And Heath Miller fumbles the football. And that last breath is now gone. It's 23-6 after the fumble. Ravens get a field goal. At that point, you knew this game was over. Final score ends up 26-6. Haloti Ngata gets a beautiful interception to put a nice exclamation mark on this Ravens beatdown, 26-6. Steelers simply did not show up in this game. Ravens dominated them from start to finish. They get the win. And this was a big one. They had to have it. I talked about this Ravens team couldn't afford to lose 2 home games to 2 of your toughest divisional opponents in the Cincinnati Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers. You had to win this game, and they played with that sense of urgency. They get it done 26-6. Let me talk about these 2 teams quickly, and then we'll move on to the next segment. The Ravens, they're starting to come together. And the thing I've realized about this Ravens team is their defense is back. Last year, they were okay defensively. They didn't scare me. 2 years ago, they were terrible. When they won the Super Bowl, they were terrible on the defensive side of football, but they did just enough to win. Last year, they started to kind of resurface as a defense that was going to be much better, much improved. This year, they're stifling teams, okay? You can move the ball a little bit on this Ravens defense, but you're not getting in the end zone. That's something that they've prided themselves on in these first 2 games, is if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to field goal us to death, because you're not getting in the end zone on a consistent basis. And as we know, in the National Football League, field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. Ravens doing a beautiful job of keeping teams out of the end zone. I'm very impressed with this Ravens defense right now. I did not expect them to be as good as they are right now. A lot of young players up there playing some good football for this Ravens football team. You move on to the Steelers. I'm a little nervous for the Steelers right now. And look, they're dealing with a lot of issues right now. When Antonio Brown, when Tones left this game, taking a hit on that first possession, that you could see the offense took a huge step backwards. And I didn't realize this. I thought about it to myself. I said, hey, where's Martavis Bryant? Where's, Lance Moore? But it really didn't dawn on me. I didn't really say to myself, let me go find out where these guys are. I just asked myself, hey, where are these guys? But they're injured. And so when you take Tones out of the game, now you're talking about 3 out of the 4 top targets for the Steelers gone. I mean, all you're basically left with is Marcus Wheaton. And so when Tones came back, that was a breath of fresh air. But again, some of the damage had already been done. I mean, he literally missed a quarter and a half of action before he was able to return to the football game. So the Steelers are struggling offensively in terms, because keep in mind, they didn't score but a field goal in the second half of that game against Cleveland. So you're talking about essentially, 6 quarters of football, 9 points total? They're struggling offensively right now. Don't kid yourself. But the real question for me is defensively. This Steelers team last week, okay, I thought it was an aberration. I just said, okay, they took their foot off the gas pedal last week in the second half against Cleveland. They were stepping on them. They were stomping a mud hole in them, and then they just let up. Cleveland was on the ground. They were bloody. They were bleeding from all portions of their body, and the Steelers said, okay, they've had enough. Leave them alone. Let's just leave. they're done, they're not getting up. But they got up and they started to fight again, and then the Steelers, they really couldn't rally the troops to stop them on the defensive side of football because it was a snowball effect, and so you have yourself a dogfight. But I said, okay, they're going to clean that up, and I won't see those same deficiencies in week number 2. They can't stop the run. The Ravens were running the football very effectively. The Ravens were throwing the football very effectively. What's going on with this defense? Joe Flacco wasn't sacked in this game for the first time since 2012. It's been that long since this Ravens team was able to go without surrendering a sack. So that lets you know that A, the Steelers aren't getting any pressure on the quarterback. B, that Joe Flacco was able to get into a rhythm. Steve Smith was carving them up. Dennis Pitta was catching the football. Owen Daniels had a party. Fiesta, fiesta, fiesta. Owen Daniels had 2 touchdowns. He had a party against these guys. And then the running backs were running. They were having good games. I mean, I'm looking at Bernard Pearson. I'm saying, okay, Bernard Pearson, he's a guy that wants to average 2.8 yards a carry. He wants to average 3.2. He's never a guy that's up over 4 yards a carry. He was gashing them. Justin Forsett was gashing them. They were giving up yards on the ground. The Ravens were balanced in this game. That's a problem because this is the second week in a row the Steelers have given it up defensively. I'm a little nervous. Please calm me down, Pittsburgh. I need a performance out of you that says, hey, we're good. We're good. Right now, I'm nervous. And I got to wait another 10 days or so before you get to take the field again so that you can reassure me that things are fine in Pittsburgh, because right now, defensively, and that's where the problem is. I'm not worried about the offense. Defensively, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about you. So please help me to not be worried about you. Because right now, this is not the Steelers defense I'm used to seeing. I know you got a lot of young bucks out there, a lot of young guys, new faces running around all over the place. I know that. Still, I need you to turn it up. No, seriously, turn it up. So we're going to see. But that's going to do it for the Thursday night showcase. Ravens are able to even up their record at 1-1, and they're able to drop the Steelers to 1-1 all at the same time. So that's a beautiful day for the Baltimore Ravens. Steelers dropped to 1-1 on the season, and now they've got some things to figure out. They've got 10 days to do it. Good luck. You're going to need it. So move on from the Thursday night showcase. We'll take a quick break, come right back, and then we're going to talk Pick'em weekly for week number 2.
Social media has taken off in ways that I couldn't have imagined. And thus, I've taken the liberty to start being more active on social media. So like me on Facebook at In the Lab Room. Follow me on Twitter at In the Lab Room. You can also +1 me on Google Plus at Louie T. And also, of course, my main hub, subscribe to my channel on YouTube. That's youtube.com/In the Lab Room. These are all ways that I'm looking forward to interacting with you, the viewers, in the upcoming season of the Louie T Network.
Before we can talk Pick'em Weekly of week 2, let's go back and quickly wrap up week number 1. I went 10-6, okay? And while that's not bad, I'm somewhat disappointed in 10-6. 10-6, anybody can do 10-6, okay? Look, I'm a double digits guy, so I got my double digits, so I'm not complaining. But 10-6, look, I had 3 other people send me picks last week. All of them went 10-6, so all of us went 10-6. Look, I'm not, okay, yes, I am a guy that loves to brag, but I shouldn't be tied with those guys. I should be better than them. And all of us, in some way, shape, or form, was being special. All of us was special at some point. My 6 losses, Chicago, St. Louis, New England, Baltimore, Washington, and Tampa Bay. My special loss in there was Baltimore. I wanted to be special. Look, I thought Baltimore was going to show up in week 1 like they did on Thursday night. They didn't. So I took an L. That's okay. I was fine with that. The one that hurt me the most, You think I'm about to say the Redskins? No, that didn't hurt me the most. The one that hurt me the most was Tampa Bay. Because I thought with no Cam Newton, you're at home, you got Derek, and no way you losing that game, and they went in and they laid an egg. So that one hurt me the most. So now Star-Lord, my man Star-Lord sent me picks 10-6. Here's his picks that he lost. New England, Oakland, Kansas City, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and Indy. He was special twice. Okay, he was special twice because he thought that Oakland could go on the road and beat the Jets with a rookie quarterback. That's a no-no. And then he said Indy was going to go to Denver and beat the Sheriff, Peyton Manning. That's a bad move. That's bad news. So he had to take 2 L's. So he was being special. That's how he got to 10-6. Then my man Atson sent me his picks. He went 10-6 as well. St. Louis, Kansas City, New Orleans, Washington, Chicago, and Tampa Bay were his 6 losses. And none of those are egregious per se, but he, like myself, fell victim to Tampa Bay and Chicago. St. Louis let him down like they let me down. The one that sticks out for me with him is Kansas City. I tried to warn him. But again, hey, some people got to learn for themselves. You know, you can tell people things, they got to learn for themselves. He had to learn the hard way. Kansas City is not who you think they are. And then Robbie Sohow sent me his picks. He went 10-6 as well. New Orleans, Chicago, Kansas City, Washington, Dallas, and Tampa Bay. You know where he was being special at. Do I have to tell you? Yeah, he was being special with that Dallas pick. Hey, I don't blame him because Dallas likes to rise to the occasion. That could have been one of those times where Dallas rose to the occasion and got into a shootout with the 49ers and somehow came out on top. But that was highly unlikely, and as we saw, that didn't happen. So he went to. So we were all special in our own unique way. However, it's week 2, it's a new week, and I got off to a terrible start picking the Pittsburgh Steelers and them not coming through for me. So I feel bad already that my week has gotten off to such a sour start. But don't worry about it. I'm going to bounce back. I'm a resilient guy. Like, hey, I'm like round ball. I just bounce back. So here we go, week 2. Let's break these games down and go through these pick'em weekly games. So we start with Miami and Buffalo. Dolphins traveling out to Buffalo, family business. This is a game that I am extremely nervous about because both of these teams are coming off of really big wins. So they're high right now. They're on a high and they're feeling good about themselves. The last time I saw this Dolphins team out in Buffalo, it was 19 or 16 to nothing. It was bad. And the playoffs were on the line. That's bad. So I'm a little nervous. All right, I'm nervous. And I'm probably going to pay for this. But look, even though E.J. Manuel looked good and the Bills look good, I'm not buying that just yet. I'm not buying what they're selling just yet. However, I am buying what the Dolphins are selling. I hope they don't make a fool out of me. They did last year in a similar spot like this. Taking the Dolphins on the road to handle a little bit of family business would not surprise me in the least if Buffalo said, hey man, we at home. And last time I checked, we slapped the Dolphins around last year twice. We're going to do it again at home. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. But give me Miami. I think Tannehill has learned his lesson about the Bills, and I think they're going to be able to do some things differently. They got no Sean Marino. They're a different team this year. They got an attitude and a toughness about them, do these Dolphins this year. And Cameron Wake is playing. They get a little bit of pressure on E.J. Manuel. He going to be special. Give me Miami in this game to take care of business. You go on. To me, this game right here is the in the lab room game of the week. Cincinnati at home hosting the Atlanta Falcons. This is a big one. I've got my money on Cincinnati taking care of business in this one. It's just tough for me to see Atlanta, who's coming off an emotional high, coming back from 13 down to beat the New Orleans Saints at home. That was a big win. And Cincinnati, they're coming off of a big win themselves. First time beating the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore since 2009. So they're coming in with a lot of confidence as well. I don't know if Vontaze Burfict is playing or not, coming off of that concussion. It'd be a huge blow if he doesn't. It'd be a huge boost if he does. Either way, it's tough to go into the jungle and get a W. I'm counting on Cincinnati to protect their house. Give me Cincinnati. This is going to be a barn burner. Can't wait to watch that game. But I'm taking the home team, Cincinnati, in that one. New Orleans on the road, traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. A lot of people think this is a no-brainer. The Saints coming off of a tough loss at Atlanta, that they're going to go on the road. Look, it's tough on the road. First of all, it's tough on the road in the National Football League. Take nothing for granted. Give nobody a W. All right, with that being said though, do you think the Browns are going to do what they did last week, which is score 27 points and really be in this game with a chance to win at the end? I don't know about that. With Cleveland, you never know. Billy Ho could show up and do what he did last week, or Billy Ho could just show up. You'll get that one on the way home. So I just don't know. I'm not sure about this one, but I do know this much. The Saints, if they can protect Drew Brees, if he's not running for his life, because Cleveland got pressure on the quarterback last week. They got pressure on Big Ben last week. If they can do that again, we can have ourselves a ball game, folks. If not, Drew Brees is going to carve them up, and they're going to win this game comfortably. Look, I said all of that to say this. I still think New Orleans is going to win this game, but I'm not as comfortable. I'm not comfy, cozy with this one like I should be, but I'm still taking the Saints on the road to take care of business. We move on to the next game. The Tennessee Titans are at home versus the Dallas Cowboys. After that poor showing last week, you got to think Dallas is going to play better football. The Tennessee Titans are a team that I already said they're very scary. And if you're not careful, they'll smack you around. First of all, you go into this malaise and you're like in La La Land. You're like, what in the hell is going on? And then you get smacked in the face and you come back to reality and you look up at the scoreboard and it's 16-10. You're down with 1 minute and 12 seconds left and it's the Tennessee Titans up on top of you. And you're wondering, how'd you get there? That's the Tennessee Titans for you folks. And if Dallas isn't careful again, they could get ambushed in Tennessee. Now, I don't know if it's going to be as ugly as it was last week for Dallas, but I still see them falling to this Titans team. If Jake Locker can remain mistake-free like he was a week ago, I don't see how this Tennessee Titans team isn't able to take care of business versus the Dallas Cowboys. You move on to the next game, New England on the road versus the Minnesota Vikings. This is an interesting game because a lot of people are split here. Vikings went on the road last week, had an impressive showing against the St. Louis Rams. Meanwhile, the New England Patriots struggled on the road versus the Dolphins and were essentially systematically taken apart in that second half. Now, you say to yourself, hey, this is Belichick, it's Brady. How many times do they lose 2 games in a row? The answer to that is not often. However, something that they failed to do last week could rear its ugly head in week 2, and that stopped the run. The Dolphins ate these boys up on the ground and were much more physical than this Patriots football team. What do the Minnesota Vikings do well? They run the football, amassed over 200 yards on the ground last week. Oh, but breaking news here, Adrian Peterson has been brought up on charges. And so he's got to go back to Texas. He's got to go turn himself in. So, all of a sudden, he's probably not playing in this game. Does that affect the Minnesota Vikings and their game plan for this game? Either way, I wasn't picking Minnesota. You tell me Adrian Peterson might not play and he's dealing with a distraction. And that gives me even more incentive to take the Patriots on the road. Give me the Patriots to bounce back from that humiliating loss on the road against the Dolphins to get a W. Now, this is going to be an interesting game. I'd keep my eye on this one. Wouldn't surprise me in the least if Minnesota jumped up and bit this New England Patriots team. If they're not careful, Patriots, they better get tough and in a hurry. You move on to the next game, Arizona at the Giants. Now, a lot of people are jumping on this one too. Look, the Giants are bad. I told you that before the season started. The Giants are bad. But it's still early. I want to cut them some slack, but they look bad. And Arizona came off of a tough, hard-fought win, came from behind, down 11 in the fourth quarter, scored 12 points to win that game, 18-17 versus San Diego. They're not at home, though. The Cardinals coming out to the East Coast, 1 o'clock time slot. This could be tough on them. I don't know about this one. Again, much like New Orleans, I should be comfy, cozy here, but I'm not. But I'm still taking Arizona anyway. Doesn't matter. I just don't feel as confident as I should, but yet I'm still taking the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not going to put my reputation on the line for these Giants. No, sir. We're moving on. Redskins home hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dangerous game here. Jacksonville went on the road last week and jumped out to a 17-0 lead on the Eagles before just basically throwing up all over themselves and allowing the Eagles to double them up. Jacksonville got comfortable on 17. This is the life. 17 points. This is great. Except You don't win in this league with 17 points. They found that out the hard way. Meanwhile, the Redskins, they would have killed to have 17 points last week. They only were able to muster 6. So you look at this game, and it's 2 0-1 teams desperate for a win. Redskins at home, you expect them to come out with a little bit of vigor and fire in their belly. They got to play much better, or Jacksonville will jump up and bite them. They're at home. First game of the season, home opener for them. You got to feel like the Redskins are going to bounce back and be able to get a W. That's what I'm banking on. Give me the Redskins to be able to take care of business at home versus these Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a scary team. If the Redskins don't step their game up, Jacksonville will march into D.C. and come out with a W. You look at the next game, Detroit going to Carolina. This is a scary game. To me, one of the toughest to call this week, because I said this during the Wednesday edition of In the Lab Room when I talked about picking a winner for the Soul Survivor. It's great offense versus great defense. And we've seen time and time again that great defense wins 9 times out of 10. This could be that one time where the great defense doesn't come out on top. And this is the reason why I'm a little skeptical of Carolina. Not because of the defense. I know this defense is legit. And they've sold me on them a long time ago. They sold me on the fact that the defense is legit long time ago. That's not the issue. The issue is Cam's coming back. And the last time I saw Cam, look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. Nope, it's number 1. And Cam is his name. Super Cam. Last time I saw that man, he looked real skittish. He looked rusty. He looked out of sorts. He was out of sync with his receivers. And the Patriots also broke his ribs. So I don't know if I trust Cam coming back to shake off the cobwebs like that. Give him a start or 2 and maybe he'll get back into the rhythm and flow and swing of things. But coming off the deck and you're playing the Detroit Lions, a team that can score points. Look, the key to this game is, can the defense of the Panthers force Matthew Stafford into some mistakes? Because we know Matthew Stafford will turn it over. Can they force him into some mistakes? And can they use those mistakes to put points up on the scoreboard? I'm not sure. Look, the Panthers fans have been playing the old, hey, nobody believes in us. We're the underdogs. We love relishing that role. Nobody's respecting us. Hey, every fan around the league has played that card at some point or another. I'm asking you to give me that card. Here, put it back in the deck. Put the card right back here in the deck. I'm about to shuffle the cards back up. Put the card back in the deck, okay? You already played that card. Nobody respects us, yada, yada, yada. Stop crying. Put the card back in the deck, all right? I'm going to reshuffle the cards, and I'm going to hand you another card. If it's another ace, go and win. If you got enough, last week you pulled the ace out of the card deck, and you won. If it's another ace, you win. I don't think you have an ace in your hand. I'm calling your bluff one more time. Look, prove to me that you can do this. Because I know the defense is legit. I'm not worried about the defense right now. I'm talking to this offense. Can Cam come back and do enough off this injury? That's a legit concern for me. If Cam comes back and says, I'm back, Super Cam, and he opens up the cape, and it's the S on the chest, then I'm sold and I'm back on the bandwagon. But right now, I need tangible proof. I'm not buying it. Give me Detroit in this game to take care of business. It's not going to be pretty. Give me Detroit in this game to win by a field goal. That's all I got. So you move on to the next game. I just gave you what some might perceive to be an upset. I'm here to give you another one. So I just gave away what I'm about to do here. San Diego Superchargers going up against the Super Bowl defending champions, Seattle Seahawks. And the Seahawks are on the road. And this is a biggie, especially for San Diego. You dropped one on the road that you had your hands on. You could taste that victory. And right when you went to put it in your mouth, Arizona snatched it right out of your hand. Man, give me that victory, man. You don't know what to do with that victory, man. Give me that victory. Tastes sweet, don't it? So they're a little hot. They're a little salty after that loss. So now, if you're San Diego, you got to strap it up. Because this is a big boy matchup. Everybody is going to give their best to the Seattle Seahawks team. Do you have enough in the tank to get it done at home against a team that's basically had a bye week to sit back and watch all the teams around the league battle it out as they got it done on Thursday last week? I think the San Diego Chargers have a shot at winning this one. I like their chances. This is a dangerous team. I think, hey, I'm high on San Diego this year, and I thought that they played well enough to win. They made some mistakes. That snap over Phillip Rivers' head late in that ball game that cost them the opportunity to get a field goal. Really hurt them. And so I think if they didn't have that happen, they probably win that game. So I think they've got enough to go home and slow down Seattle enough to win the game. In my upset special of the week, give me San Diego. San Diego Superchargers to upset the Super Bowl defending champion, Seattle Seahawks. Hey, nobody said they were a great road team. They're excellent at home. This one is in San Diego. So you move on to Tampa Bay hosting the St. Louis Rams. I'm going to make this one short and sweet. This is the worst game of the week, so I'm not spending a lot of time here. Two bad football teams right now. I don't know how bad Tampa Bay really is, but last week didn't do them any favors in my book. And St. Louis, they're in shambles right now. They're probably going to have to start a third-string quarterback. It's not good right now. If you're Tampa Bay, I'm going to say this to you, and we're moving on. If you can't beat St. Louis at home with a third, look, you got a second-string quarterback last week, and you can get done. If you can't beat, so look, I'm going to bring it down another notch for you. If you can't beat a third-string quarterback, I'm not picking you anymore this season. Give me Tampa Bay by default in this game to win. You move on to the next matchup. Denver at home, hosting Kansas City, family business. If these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. Look, Kansas City is all kinds of banged up. Their offensive lineman, Jeff Allen, I think he's gone for the year. So is Derek Johnson with a blown Achilles. This isn't the same team. They lost a boatload of players in the offseason. And look, I told you this already. This isn't the same Kansas City Chiefs team, and Denver is going to exploit them in every way imaginable. Denver, big, move on to the next matchup. Green Bay at home versus the Jets. I already told you who I thought was going to win this game on Wednesday when I gave you my sole survivor pick of the week. Geno Smith on the road, Aaron Rodgers against that defense. They're short in the secondary are the Jets. Aaron Rodgers at home, he's got to be livid after the performance they had. I'm not really sold on this Green Bay defense quite yet, but I tell you this much, the Jets offense didn't do a lot to impress me last week. They turned it over, they made a lot of mistakes, they look like the Jets. They do that again against Green Bay, and they cannot expect to win on the road. Give me Green Bay to win that football game. You go to the next matchup. Houston on the road, traveling to Oakland to take on the Raiders. The Oakland Raiders. This was supposed to be the Matt Schaub Bowl. Well, Matt Schaub isn't playing, so it's no longer the Matt Schaub Bowl. It's another opportunity for the four-car, Derek Carr, to finally get his first NFL victory. And the Houston Texans did a great job of forcing turnovers last week, doing just enough to win as they beat the Washington Redskins 17-6. In Houston. Now they're taking that show on the road. J.J. Watt and Brooks Reed were outstanding. Outstanding. They were outstanding last week. And so was DJ Swearinger. If those three do it again, they'll win. However, I'm banking on the Oakland Raiders to find a way to summons up a better game plan than they had a week ago. Allow Derek Carr to actually push the football down the field. They got to find a way to block J.J. Watt. Look, if you don't block J.J. Watt, you don't win if you're the Raiders. If you got to look, I told the Redskins to double team him. They didn't listen. I hope you're listening. Double team J.J. Watt. Look, if Brooks Reed wants to get off, let him. But don't let J.J. Watt wreck your game plan. Give me the Raiders at home to find a way to get on the board. I'm taking the Raiders in this one. You move on to Sunday night. San Francisco hosting Chicago in their home opener and their stadium opener. That's right, Levi Stadium, first regular season game for the 49ers in their new digs. Let's see how they're able to fare. Look, they did a great job last week of jumping on a defenseless Cowboys team that wanted to give them the game. Hey, they want to give it to you, why not take it? But this is a different opponent in Chicago. Look, they had a bad loss last week, but again, we don't know who the Buffalo Bills are. The Buffalo Bills could win 10 games this year. So we're saying that it's a bad loss right now, but in theory, it could be a okay loss. Who is to say? But Alshon Jeffrey never, ever trust a man with two first names. He might not play. He's still trying to battle back from that injury. He may not play, and if he doesn't play, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle like they did a week ago to put points up on the board. All in all, San Francisco, I felt like they had issues up front last week. I thought that the Cowboys had success moving the football. They were able to run the ball. If not for Tony Romo having color blindness and throwing to the wrong color jersey all game long, they might have actually been in that football game. Remember, they got all the way to the 2-yard line before Tony Romo was sacked by the Cowboy, Justin Smith, and they had to settle for a field goal. And remember, they got all the way down to the 2-yard line again before Tony Romo threw a pick in the end zone to Patrick Willis. So pump your brakes, 49ers fans. Hey, you got it done against a bad football team like you were supposed to. But this is a different animal. But I said all of that to say this. You're still supposed to win this game. You still will win this game. If you want to impress me, you know how I am about primetime matchups. Beat the brakes off these boys like you did the last time when you seen them on primetime. When you made Jason Campbell think about retirement about 2-3 years ago in that game, Colin Kaepernick's first start of his career. Do it again. Do it again. I'm challenging you. Give me the 49ers. And finally, Monday Night Football, Indianapolis Colts, Philadelphia Eagles. This is going to be a good one. If not for Atlanta at Cincy, this would have been the In the Lab Room game of the week. But these are two evenly matched teams in my book. Eagles coming back from a come-from-behind victory where they were down 17-0. And, hey, this Indy team was down by as much as 21 in their game against Denver before battling back in that ball game. So both of these teams were down big in their respective games. The only difference was the Eagles were playing Jacksonville and the Indianapolis Colts were playing Denver. So Philly was able to come back. Indy wasn't. Now Indy's at home opener, lot on the line for them. They can't afford to fall to 0-2, especially with Tennessee playing such good football right now. And if you're the Indianapolis Colts, you got to win this game at home. The Eagles are coming in with a little bit of confidence, even though they struggled early on. They scored 34 unanswered points. They're feeling good about themselves. You got to put out that fire that is that Eagles offense. I'm taking Indy and Andrew Luck to bounce back from that Week 1 loss against the Denver Broncos. Give me the Indianapolis Colts to wrap up week number 2 for me in the Pick'em Weekly. So we'll take a short break, feel good about my picks. We'll come back and we'll wrap this show on up.
This is a public service announcement regarding the second annual In the Lab Room Soul Survivor Pool. Those participating, please be sure to have your money turned in by Saturday, September 13th, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you've already turned your money in, then of course I'm not referring to you. For those who haven't, please be sure to have it in by then. Also, picks, they need to be in moving forward by Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to have these sheets out to the participants before the Thursday night game so that everyone knows who has been selected and there can be no changes. So I want everyone to have the sheet in their hand by Thursday, so I need the picks on Wednesday. All of these things and more will ensure fair play in the pool, and with all those taken care of, the only question that remains is, are you the sole survivor?
So, let's go for 2 today. I don't want to tack on an extra point. I think I'm going to go for 2 today. So, let's go for a 2-point conversion. First things first. Talked about Adrian Peterson briefly, and he's got a situation where they're talking about child neglect and negligence and all of that good stuff. Here's the situation. Here's the skinny on this for me. If his child is 5 or 6 years old and reportedly he beat him with a switch, that's what I'm hearing. Now, I don't know all the facts surrounding the situation. Everything is fresh right now. All the details are still being leaked out. But right now, that's what I'm hearing. If that's true, look, it's his child. If he's 5 or 6 years old and he want to go old school, look, I know of plenty of people who will say, hey, look, I was beat with a lot worse. I'm fine. Not saying that that's the right way to raise your child, but who are you to tell me how to raise my child? As long as he's not trying to kill his child and he's not putting him in the microwave and he's not strangling him and choking him and doing all kinds of nonsense. Hey, everyone's been beaten, or okay, I can't say everybody. Most people have been beaten in their life by their parents at some point or another for something you've done that you weren't supposed to do. I don't know what Adrian Peterson did or what provoked him to do what he did, but nonetheless, that's the way he wants to rear his child. Now, If he went overboard with it, and again, I don't know all the details, then he should be punished. But if it's just a simple situation where, hey, he got a switch, he beat his child with it, and that was that, and somebody reported and told on him, then I say, hey, you're out of line, leave the man alone, move on, there's nothing to see here. If there's a situation where this was egregious, he went overboard, it was overkill, and he really did some serious damage to the child, then we got an issue. Or if the child is like 1 or 2 years old, then I got a problem there too. I mean, you can't be beating the brakes off of a 2-year-old. They really don't know better yet. But if he's 5 or 6, yeah, you know better. And if you're not listening and I feel like I need to take matters into my own hands and go a little bit over the top, then so be it. Hey, I'm not here to tell you how to raise your child. But again, if that child's 1 or 2 years old, hey, you tripping, straight tripping. But see, this situation comes on the heels of the Ray Rice situation, and so it's just a bad time right now. This is not the time for AD to be in the news on something like this. So I'm just saying, hey, watch out, beware. This could get uglier than it's supposed to be. You know the media loves blowing things out of proportion, and right now with the situation in the NFL with Ray Rice, the season for picking off players is ripe. If you make a mistake out in the court of public opinion, you too can be picked off, just like Ray Rice was. So if you're Adrian Peterson, you better watch yourself. Tread lightly here. Tread very lightly. Yesterday, I posed a question to you at the end of the episode. I asked a very simple question. 4th and 7, game on the line, who you throwing the football to? Not necessarily any particular portion of the field. You're not in the red zone or any. 4th and 7, game on the line, you need a completion, who you going to? Had a couple of people respond. Q-Bone Football, my man Q, answered Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham, he's a man. That's not a bad option to throw the football to. Star-Lord said he's throwing a football to Heath Miller. Like the selection, but I'm not really sold on Heath Miller. He's not creating any separation. And he's a guy that if you throw it to him, he generally catches it. Strong hands, but again, he's got to be able to create some separation. Don't know if he'll be able to do that or not. CP Tigerus 125, or as he's more affectionately known on this program, CPT, says, hey, I'm going to avenge the Megatron. And ditto for Michael Caine. Hey, look, I can't tell you not to throw the football to the biggest, baddest man on the planet at the wide receiver position with the game on the line. Can't tell you not to, but I've seen him drop the football before. Don't think he won't drop it again. And M. Shaka 97 said, I'm going to Larry Fitzgerald. L. Boogie, not a bad guy to throw it to. Look, I know one thing's for certain. If it gets anywhere near his hands, it's like stick 'em, he's going to catch it. So that's not a bad option either. But all of you gave great answers. But to me, 4th and 7, game on the line. I've watched this guy throughout his career get it done, especially in the postseason when the game is on the line. Give me Anquan Bolden to throw the football to. I watched the Cowboys and the 49ers play, and he was taking some hellacious hits. He always comes down with the football. When the Ravens won the Super Bowl, guess who was the catalyst? Anquan Bolden. He always comes down with the football. When the San Francisco 49ers made their run last year to the NFC Championship game, guess who was the guy that was the catalyst for it? Anquan Bolden. This guy gets it done wherever he goes. Remember, in Arizona, he was one of the big-time targets there. Even though L. Boogie was the man on that team, he was the complement to him. He's the toughest receiver to me in the National Football League. He catches everything, and he always finds a way to get open. At 4th and 7, I need a completion to keep my season alive. I'm going to Anquan Bolden. And that's going to do it for the Friday edition of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the college football. Enjoy the NFL action. We'll come back next week, do it all over again. Have a great weekend. See you next week.
In the Lab Room.